another edition of the Good Life Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Blakely, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Ryan Rahmann of the Royal Hall from here in Kearney. So, Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Let's get to know you a little bit more, as we always do. Let's start off, what podcast, first, what books are you reading or listening to right now?
I came from the sales world, so I've read a majority of the sales books. Grant Cardone, John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar, all those sales books.
Yep.
A lot of that. One that I've read recently that's kind of interesting is Way of the Wolf.
Okay.
Is written by
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yep, Jordan, who the movie Wolf of Wall Street was based on.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy. It's interesting. Kind of fun.
Is it anything like the movie?
No. So obviously the movie is an exaggeration of the way it is, but it is based on the true story. Like, he developed a sales process, and that's what they used, and that's what created all the craziness that they displayed in the movie. But it is pretty cool. It is a neat book.
So I saw the movie before, and I thought about downloading the book and listening to it, but I'm like, well, if it's the same stuff, I don't really know if it's worth it.
No, it's nothing like the movie. It is about his sales process that he developed and that they used.
Got it. That's good to know. How about podcasts? You listen to very many of those on the road?
I do. I listen to a lot of podcasts on the road. Business-wise, probably Gary Vee is one I listen to a lot.
Yep.
For fun, Pat McAfee. He's a big sports guy, so listen to that one. Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's got an awesome podcast if you're into like racing and cars. And it's a lot of just like random life stuff too.
Yep.
So that's a good one to listen to. But
I've always thought he was a good speaker.
He is. He's very good storyteller, and he's a huge historian of the sport of NASCAR.
Yeah.
Just the way his mind works is just unreal.
Nice.
It is pretty cool.
Cool. Very good. All right, let's get to know about you and your business. You said you've got a background in sales, and here you are with the Royal Hall. So tell us what the Royal Hall does, kind of how you got started, from when you were thinking this would be a good idea, this is something I can move into a business, to where we are today. Just kind of give us a story.
Sure. The Royal Hall we're an auto transport business. We specialize in transporting exotic, luxury, and classic cars and motorcycles.
Okay.
So that's kind of the niche market that I developed. Those we typically transport enclosed, so an enclosed trailer covered in plastic, so people's high-end fancy stuff that they don't want to get damaged or dirty or anything like that. So that's kind of our main niche that we do. We also do just standard auto transport for just everyday vehicles, dealers, auctions, you name it. But yeah, so we specialize in our niches, the enclosed transport of that higher-end stuff.
Okay.
So
got it. How'd you come up with this idea? Or is this something that's done in different parts of the country and maybe just wasn't relevant here, or was it established here?
Well, I've always been a car person. Ever since I was a little kid, like cars, been around them. Went to college, had a business major, always kind of wanted to do my own business, something to do with cars. Went through a lot of different ideas, even like detailing, car buying and selling, just a lot of different things. And then it kind of went through a whole process and just evolved into this, I guess.
Got it. So you just kind of, one car led to another. Were you starting with just regular use vehicles, or like regular vehicles that kind of transitioned into the niche of the collector cars and things like that?
Well, so I guess how it really all started is I had a couple vehicles that I had bought to use and then sold, and then ended up buying a couple more and selling a couple more.
Okay.
So I needed a vehicle and a trailer to haul them, go pick them up, deliver them wherever.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it started, and was just doing a few one by one, and then got to where it's like, okay, this is something that we might have something here.
Right.
So started doing a lot of research and hours of reading and everything that was involved, and kind of stumbled onto the niche of the enclosed transport for the higher end stuff. And really it started with motorcycles. There's a huge need for people that needed motorcycles transported. So that's kind of where it started and got the ball rolling and moving. But yeah, then it turned, obviously you have the trailer for motorcycles, so you can do cars, and just kind of expanded from there.
Got it. How fast has business grown?
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
So when I started, I was just doing it like evenings and weekends, trying to do it as a side gig. So that would have been like the fall of 2021. And then within a couple, 3 months, it got to the point where I was turning down more business than what I could do, because I had a full-time job that I was trying to do, and then do this on the evenings and weekends. So my wife and I were probably more stressed out than anything, trying to figure out how we were going to juggle everything. And so just decided to make the move. It would have been like the beginning of the year 2022, so last year. Decided to make the jump and do it full time, and it's been crazy ever since then. I've been booked like 2 to 3 weeks in advance ever since then, and I'm unfortunately still turning down stuff just because of time frame and logistics and all that. But yeah, it's been good and busy really from the get-go, and I've had the conversations with Adrian, my wife, multiple times. Like, it's stressful because we have so much to do. I almost feel bad because I know a lot of, new businesses and new things, when they're first starting, they're stressful because they don't have the work. It's kind of a weird emotion to have and be in when you're just starting, having all this stuff to do, trying to figure out how to do it all. But it's been fun, exciting, definitely an adventure.
And the other side of the coin is, though, with that, I think sometimes you can get into your business or start a business and you think that it's going to take, like, there's going to be this ramp up period where it's kind of a slow curve, and then you'll have time to figure it out as you go. where you're coming from is, this actually took off a lot faster than I expected it to. And so there's challenges and there's stress that goes with that. I mean, there's challenges that go along with trying to find business. But when your business takes off, you've got a new set of challenges that you've got to figure out. And sometimes, a lot of times, you have less time to figure out how to make it work.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it's kind of a two-sided coin where you've got to try to find the business, but then when you do, and if you're good at what you do, it's going to take off. How do you, from a marketing standpoint, how are you getting phone calls from others? Is it social media? Is it word of mouth?
The majority of it is word of mouth. So there's a couple ways you can go about getting business, I guess, in this industry. The first one is direct customers. So that's people from around that you make contact that are calling you directly. The other way would be load boards. So there's a couple prominent websites that a lot of the car dealers, auto brokers, the broker transport use. So you can get on there and you can put in your starting point, your ending point, and it gives you everything in between.
Got it.
So the majority of mine has been just word of mouth. That's kept me so busy, which is just crazy how it just taken off. So that's typically what I use to go one direction, because it's hard to book like something going one way and coming back. It doesn't happen that way very often. So if somebody has a car that's going one way, I'll take it that way, and then I'll get on the load boards and look to find something coming back, or vice versa. If somebody has something that they need picked up somewhere, then I'll get on the load board and see what I can find to get me there, and then come back. Because the key, the most important thing is have something in or on the trailer at all times.
Yep.
I mean, that's how you're making money. So
not only do you have to haul, but you got to be dispatched as well.
yeah.
Do you ever get it to where you're word of mouth both ways or multiple ways? Or
We've had it where I had a vehicle going up to Oregon, so we took that up there, and then the guy said, "Hey, my neighbor, he just moved from here to Texas, and he has something that he needs hauled from Texas." So he took the vehicle up there to Oregon, drove like 5 minutes to his neighbor's house, picked up one to go to Texas, and then came back. It's just weird how that works.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So you'll go, I mean, I was thinking maybe you were kind of sticking to the Midwest, but you'll go all over.
So my main focus is Denver to Chicago to Dallas.
Okay.
Kind of that triangle.
Okay.
The Midwest is our main focus. But yes, we have gone California, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Florida, Texas, Oregon, all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
That's awesome. I assume once you got whether you're doing motorcycles or vehicles or whatever, once you've got that hauled up and you're driving, that's probably the least stressful part of your job for the most part, besides having to deal with the idiots on the road. But the dispatching part of it, that's probably a whole nother level of complexity.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time, a lot of planning and logistics to try and figure it out. That's one thing. Like, if you read, there's a lot of people in this industry that just jump in and go. Like, yeah, I've got a pickup, I've got a trailer, I can haul stuff.
Yep.
But they don't have the awareness or the knowledge, the understanding to figure out that side of it. Mm-hmm. And that's where, like, coming from my business background and the sales background, and like I said, a ton of reading and research to start with. Like, I had a pretty good grasp of how all that would work when I started. Obviously, there's been challenges along the way,
sure.
but it has gone pretty well.
Good. Is it what you thought it would be?
Yes, it's been great. It's been awesome. There has been obviously a lot of stress and a lot of challenges along the way that weren't expected. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
What's some of the challenges that you didn't foresee?
So I run under DOT requirements,
yep.
just like a big truck, 18-wheeler semi going down the road.
Sure.
So the book of requirements is like this thick.
Right.
And I thought I understood pretty well, and I do, but so like I have to run electronic logs, and I have hours of service that I have to abide by, and everything just like a big semi. So any of the weigh stations that you go through, I have to pull off. And just some of that stuff, like just the DOT requirements, like their safety requirements.
Number of hours you can haul.
Yeah, I thought I had all that stuff figured out, and they'll get you for, it depends what kind of mood they're in for the day, I guess, but if they want, they'll look hard enough and find something to either give you a citation or a warning or some kind of violation or whatever. But for the most part, all of the officers and stuff I ran into, everybody's been great, and they've all been super informative, and most of them are like, yeah, I can tell you aren't trying to like manipulate the system, you just don't know,
right.
Here's what we would recommend, here's what you need to do for the future, that kind of stuff. So they've all been good to work with, but it is like just stressful to have to go through that.
So if it's your first violation, they'll give you a little grace? Maybe.
Well, it just depends on what it is.
Yeah.
So if it's a major violation, it'll be an out of service, so they'll shut you down. Like, you cannot move until it's fixed.
Yeah.
If it's a smaller one, like a side marker light or something like that doesn't work, it's just a violation that goes on your record, and it's like a fix-it ticket basically. But yeah, there's everything from completely shutting you down to just writing you a violation.
So that's probably your least favorite part of this.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of being a small business owner?
So my favorite part is just being able to control everything, like my own schedule, even though it gets stressful at times, trying to fit everything in. I do have some control over it if we have family things going on, or our kids have something going on. I can manipulate and change my schedule around to go around that stuff. I know the only person I have to answer to is myself. Yeah. So if I don't make it work, it's definitely on me, but it is one of the nice things. You don't have anybody else really to answer to or to question you. So.
Is that kind of part of what success looks like for you? Is just the freedom to be able to set your schedule and kind of work when you want to?
Yeah. I'm one of those people that's working all the time, so it's honestly, it's tougher for me than I thought it was going to be to take the time off. I'm obviously always wanting to move and keep going and doing something, so that's probably been harder, is taking the time to like shut down, to stop myself, than the push to just keep going and going and going all the time.
Well, and I think that especially, you said you got started at the beginning of 2022, things are still fairly new. I mean, you're still figuring things out, and it's still new, it's exciting, while it can be stressful, it's a lot of fun. I'm kind of to the place in my business where there's a piece of me that getting that time back by delegating different things or hiring people or figuring out who can do different tasks just to get time back. I remember when I started, I did everything. And I was okay with that because that's how I wanted it.
You had to do it because you didn't have any other choice.
Yeah, you got to pay the bills somehow. But I think as you go on, I guess what I'm learning, and this may not be the same for everyone, but getting that time back too, that's another challenge. You've kind of figured all that out. So what do you wish you were better at when it comes to running your business?
It's changed a little bit over the last year, but I know because I've consciously made the effort. When I first started, I was making business decisions emotionally and not logically or financially. Some of the things, looking back, like some of the cars and the motorcycles I've hauled, when I first did it, I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be cool, I mean, it's going to be awesome to haul that $200,000 car, which it was. I mean, that was fun, that was awesome, it was great for the experience, but financially, did it make sense? Business-wise, did it make sense? Probably not, maybe not, but I think just really shifting that focus to making sure I'm making business decisions because of the business and not the emotional side of it. That's probably one of the biggest changes.
That's really hard too. I mean, it's so hard because you wrap up so much emotion into your business. It becomes a part of you. I think even starting out, no matter what business it is, you'll take whatever you can get. And eventually you kind of get to a place where you realize that you need to be specific, and you really need to take a look at, okay, how much am I worth? And is this really going to be, even though the experiences are probably great, because you did get a lot of experience for that and said that you could do it, financially trying to make those decisions, but that's really, really hard to not make emotional decisions.
Because when we first started and everything went crazy just out of the gate, so one of the things that's very popular in this industry is having drivers lease on. So basically what that means is they are leasing your DOT numbers and your information, and then they work for you. So basically they're an independent contractor that works for the business. So we tried that, and I don't know if we were maybe not quite ready yet, if I wasn't quite ready, if the fit wasn't quite right, but it didn't work out. And it was one of those things, like, it was fine, and it was maybe good that it didn't work out, because just that experience of it. And then one of the things, I think it was on a Gary Vee podcast that I was listening to, he said, your business doesn't have to be big to be successful. And that was one thing, like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, holy cow, you know, we're trying to expand and do all this stuff because that's what we thought a good business was and did, but maybe being smaller is better. And I had never really thought of it that way until we went through that situation, and then I just happened to hear that, and it just like kind of turned on the light bulb. Like, maybe bigger isn't better. You know, so.
Absolutely. In that situation, was there an element of losing control? Maybe is not the right term, but where you aren't the driver and you're relying on someone else to, you know, as part of your business. Was there kind of a part of where you were maybe losing control over that aspect of it? Because I think that the reason I bring that up is because being able to delegate and do different things, especially in the beginning when you're still kind of trying to figure it out, that can be hard. Did the control part have anything to do with?
No, not the control part of it. I think, if anything, the thing I learned from that is I had always heard, and they always say, that the employees or the people that work for you are never going to work as hard as the owner. And when I was working for other people, you know, I thought I was working hard, but it is a completely different level when it's your own business and your own thing that you're doing. So that really opened up my eyes to that. And again, I don't know if it was the situation that wasn't quite right or whatever, it didn't work, which is fine. But I think learning from that was probably just as important as trying to do it.
No one will ever love it as much as you do is one of the things that someone told me when I first started. And that's kind of a hard lesson or a hard thing to hear, but it's true. Yeah,
it is. And like I said, I had always heard that when I was working for other people, and it just kind of not necessarily went over my head, but I hadn't put that much thought into it. But actually in the situation, it's definitely true.
Yeah, it definitely rings true. Definitely does. So if you could go back to day one and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, one piece of advice. I think just probably taking the time to slow down. I know, like for me, like I said, everything went crazy when we first started, and that was awesome. But taking the time to slow down and kind of look at the details of some of the things and figuring out, you know, in the first couple months what works and what doesn't, instead of 6 months later. You know, not that time frame was that big, but so much happened in that time frame. Just possibly, if I could go back, definitely slowing down, making sure understand absolutely everything that's happening instead of trying to do it backwards after it has happened.
Do you allow yourself to do that now?
Probably not as much as I should. I have tried to focus on it more in the last few months, but still it's tough when I'm always wanting to be on the go. So.
Yeah. And I think that that's something you'll probably always fight. You know, like there's just that inner drive to keep going, and you feel like if you're taking a step back to analyze, there's things you're missing out on. So I fight that battle too. So I get it. So someone comes to you, one of your girls comes to you, friend, family member, and they say, hey, thinking about starting a business, what one piece of advice would you give me?
If it's something you truly want to do, I say make the jump and do it. I was just thinking about this a couple days ago. I was taking my girls to school on a Monday morning, and you see all these people like you're passing in cars, and they just have an absolute dreaded look on their face. And it's like, if you're really that dreading going to work on a Monday morning, do something different. I mean, I know a lot of people are in a lot of different situations, but making that jump and making that choice, is it going to be easy? No. But is it going to be maybe the best thing you've ever done? Yes. So if you have that want to do it, do a lot of research, do a lot of homework on it, but jump and do it.
Even if you do it like you did, where you were doing it on the side.
Just kind of do it part-time on the side to start. And if it fires off, then you can make that jump. Or if it doesn't, you know, you can always keep doing what you're doing or move on to the next thing.
Yeah, because that probably gave you the confidence to know, hey, we got something here. When you were turning down jobs because you were doing it part-time, you're like, okay, I think I can make this a good.
And that definitely made the decision easier. I think it was probably something that we would have done eventually anyway. But yeah, that definitely helped to, if nothing else, the warm fuzzy feeling that you're gonna have something there, you think you do.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. All right, so I want to give you the opportunity to completely geek out. I want the top 3 motorcycles or vehicles that you've hauled, and as specific as you can get, but for anybody who's listening who is a car nerd, for you that you just want to geek out for 5 minutes, tell us about your 3 favorite hauls.
I'll expand a little bit on that.
Okay.
So the cars are awesome, but I would say the people I've met along the way are just as good or more fun than that. I have a customer that has a couple Lamborghinis that I've hauled for him.
Nice.
Those are kind of interesting because, as you know, you can't just take a Lamborghini anywhere to get worked on.
Yeah.
So when he has them worked on, even for just oil changes, they have to go to Chicago to the dealer to be dropped off to have service work done. So I've done that a couple times for him. Picked them up, taken them to Chicago, dropped them off. In a couple weeks when they're done, he'll call me. I go back and pick them up and bring them back.
Wow.
So that's kind of fun. Some of the classic cars I've hauled have been awesome. Probably my most favorite car is an Audi R8.
Okay.
They're mid-engine, rear engine. It's Audi supercar.
Okay.
One of the cool things with that is I had hauled, it was a dealer in Lincoln. I have hauled a couple just regular cars for him. Just, you know, in passing said, hey, I've got an enclosed trailer. If you ever need anything, you know, just let me know.
Yeah.
Gave him my information. Well, they had one and they sold it to a guy down in Oklahoma, and he was going to be in charge of his own shipping to get it picked up. They had 3 other transporters there to pick up the car, and they sit so low that they couldn't get it loaded on their trailer. And so finally the dealer called the customer and said, hey, we have a guy, you know, we think he could probably do it for you. So they called me. I went, and within 10 minutes we had it loaded. And the guy's like, the last guy that was here yesterday was here all day, literally all day trying to load it, and couldn't figure out how to do it. And I mean, we had it done in 10 minutes and had it delivered to him, and he was awesome. So stuff like that is kind of fun, kind of interesting. I got connected. I've hauled cars for a couple NFL players.
Nice.
That's been fun. Just stuff like when their season was over, pick up the cars, take it to their off-season homes.
All right.
Done that. I've got a couple customers that have homes in Arizona. So in the fall, I've taken cars down there, dropped them off for them. Now in the spring, I went back, picked them up, brought them back. Stuff like that's fun. So there's been a list. So the Audi, the Lamborghinis were cool. A couple Mercedes have been awesome. Even like the Teslas, they're just they're wild. And some of the new, I've hauled, one of the new Audi all-electric cars. They're cool. Cadillac has a new all-electric SUV. I've hauled one of those. So, and some of this stuff is like the Cadillac SUV. When I hauled it, it was one of 5 in the U.S. at the time.
Wow.
I mean, just stuff like that is kind of fun and interesting. And like I said, the people I've met along the way, 99% of them have been awesome. There's been a couple. There's always somebody, but I mean, people invite you in for a dinner, or want to take you out for dinner after you bring their vehicles to them, and I mean, it's just been, people have been great.
You're hauling cars, but you're still in the relationship business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's how, I don't necessarily want to say my popularity, but just that word of mouth, so many people have been, hey, you hold the car for so-and-so. He said it was great. I've got this one.
Yeah.
I just got another phone call today for a guy that needs a vehicle hauled to Georgia.
Yeah.
He got my number from so-and-so, and it's been great.
Yeah. There's so many small businesses that are, whatever you do, you're in the relationship business, and building that relationship, taking the extra time to know your customers are appreciated, just having conversations with them. That's something that you maybe you don't realize right away, but you kind of figure out along the way that, hey, how I'm going to grow my business the way I want to grow it is really to grow the relationships, with
And that's like me coming from the sales side of it. I knew going into it, that's what I wanted to focus on.
Yeah.
Was building those direct customers and those relationships.
Yeah.
It's not easy, obviously, all the time. I mean, nobody likes cold calling or just stopping in and dropping off a card, but I've done that, and some of my best customers have come from that.
Yep.
And some of the craziest connections you've ever made have come from that. Like one of my biggest customers that I haul motorcycles for, they have 2 Harley dealerships in different states.
Yeah.
So they move a lot of motorcycles back and forth. And I was picking up a car right next to one of their Harley dealerships, and I just loaded the car. I thought, well, I'll go over there, give them one of my cards if they ever need anything.
Yeah.
So I walked in, it's like, hey, can I talk to the sales manager? And the guy I was talking to, well, yeah, that's me, what do you need? And I said, well, I do enclosed transport, I haul a lot of motorcycles, if you ever need anything, here's my card. But he said, you're kidding me, you haul motorcycles? I was like, no, I haul them all the time, all over. And he said, well, we had an employee that worked for our dealership that all he did was haul motorcycles back and forth.
Yeah.
He was an older, retired guy, and that's what he did, would haul motorcycles. Because they'll, sell one from their other store,
Yep.
And have to trade them back and forth. And they also trade inventory back and forth. But he said, our guy that we had doing this was semi-retired, and he just told us, like, a couple days ago that he's retiring fully and isn't going to do it anymore, and we've been trying to figure out how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So he gave me, we got connected. I got connected with the owner, and we just set it up, and it just took off from there. And
You just never know.
No, it's just weird how
Yeah.
stuff like that just happens, and it's just circumstance.
You just never know. And it is uncomfortable to cold call. Like it's not fun.
No.
Getting told no or go away is not fun, but it's just part of the deal.
I think it's a little different in my industry, where it's like a service-based industry and not that I'm going in trying to sell them something.
Yeah.
But I've been in that world, and it definitely isn't fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey man, this was a lot of fun. Give us more information about you, how, if someone's interested in hiring you, how they can get a hold of you. Is it social media, website, phone number? Tell us where to go.
So our main ones are Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Just The Royal Haul. You can look us up there. I try and post pictures of a lot of the stuff that I haul, where it's coming from, where it's going, just so people can see it. I've had a lot of people that I've seen in passing, friends and family, they're like, oh man, we love seeing all the interesting stuff you post, the cars and vehicles and motorcycles and ATVs that you haul. So you can look there, The Royal Haul, on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can email me. It's theroyalhaul@gmail.com. So that's pretty simple. Or you can call and text me. The phone number is 308-379-8826.
Got it. All right. Hey man, best of luck with everything in the future. It's been a pleasure to sit down and hear more about your business. Wish you nothing but the best, and thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you.